Thanks for tuning back into the channel. We're back with another Final Fantasy Commander. Today with Absolute Virtue. For 6, a white and a blue, we can get an 8/8 creature that can't be countered with flying and protection from each of your opponents, meaning that it can't be dealt damage, enchanted, or targeted by anything controlled by our opponents. The main focus of this deck is to deal 21 damage to each of our opponents with Absolute Virtue by giving it plenty of stat buffs, making it so it could attack the first turn it comes in, and just general ways to protect it and ourselves so that we can make sure we get that drew. It is also 8 mana to get it out, so we have plenty of ways to ramp ourselves, plenty of ways to make sure it could attack the first turn it comes out, because if we have to wait till turn 8, we're probably already going to have lost the game. And then we also have plenty of enchantments in here that will give it that stat boost, and other things that'll just protect us for a little bit longer. And then since we're in Azorius, we may as well run some counterspells and plenty of removal in this deck as well. But as always, make sure you leave how you like to run the deck down there in the comment section. But let's get into it card by card here now. So like I said, we have plenty of ways to get more mana with cards like Arcane Signet, Archaeomancer's Map, Azorius Cluestone, Azorius Locket, Azorius Signet, and then we have other cards that'll give it things like Haste. This does also give First Strike and Trample, but with that protection from each of our opponents, we don't necessarily need to care about that for Absolute Virtue, but for some of our other creatures, it does help them out quite a bit. It's mostly a haste that we're looking for. Plenty of ways to make sure it can attack the turn it comes down. Because normally it is also a 8/8, which means that it'll take 3 hits in order to destroy one of your opponents. But, you know, let's make it so it can attack right away and have that stat boost with other equipments that we have, so we can make sure we could get that drew in 2 turns. Then we have Commander Sphere, Felwar Stone, Gilded Lotus for more mana. Gilded Lotus I do like a lot in this deck because it is 5 mana, giving you that 3 more mana, giving you just enough mana to be able to cast Absolute Virtue. Of course, if you do have, blue or white mana, depending on what you already need. Haunted Cloak will also be another card that gives a haste, let's give it Vigilance as well, which will make it a good protector for when our opponents decide to swing in on us as well. Then, to give it more stat boost, we have Helm of the Gods, give it +1/+1 for each enchantment we control. We have 19 enchantments total, so in theory, it could get up to being a 21/21, being able to swing in on our opponent to one-shot them. It normally won't because we only have 19 total, and it'll be hard to get to that 21. But it is a possibility. Always fun to look at possibilities. Then we have other ways to give it haste with Lava Spirit Boots, Lightning Greaves. Other ways to get mana with Mind Stone, Pearl Medallion, Soul Ring, Swiftfoot Boots for that haste again, Talisman of Progress, Dran Dynamo, and Wayfarer's Bauble, once again for more mana. Dran Dynamo is also fun like Gilded Lotus, since, 8 mana is what we need. 4 mana isn't exactly the worst of what we want to spend to cast things. Then for other creatures we want some other creatures that'll be able to swing in, and some that will just protect us and reduce costs, since they're going to be on the board, and we don't want to get destroyed before we can get our big creature out. We have Bruna, Light of Alabaster, Flying, Vigilance, attach all equipments to it at the beginning of combat. Oh, sorry, it's when it attacks or blocks. So it's during either your turn or one of your opponent's turn. If your opponent somehow gets rid of Absolute Virtue, normally it'll be through a board wipe, so it'll probably get rid of Bruna too. But she's just there to be able to swing in for extra damage in case it does get getting rid of, however you pronounce that. Then Capation Paragon to reduce the cost of our equipments, aka our haste enablers, and our auras as well, aka our stuff that'll give it the bonus stats. Entity Tracker to get the draw power off these enchantments that we're going to be casting. Grand Arbiter, Augustine the Fort, make a way to cast Absolute Virtue for cheaper while stalling our opponents for at least a little bit. I mean, your opponents won't like this card, so they'll probably get rid of it, but it'll be a little bit of a way to slow down our opponent, since, like I said, we need 8 mana to get out our creature, so we may as well slow them down just a little bit. So yeah, that's Pilgrim, a little bit of search power in order to get out the aura that we want from our deck into our hand. Light Pause, Emperor's Voice, running quite a variety of cost for like casting these different enchantments, so we could go from 5 to 3 to 2 to whatever we need to go to. And getting those onto Light Pause in order to, have another good creature there on the board. Mace Enchantment, same thing as Entity Tracker, a little bit of draw power. Pearl Ear, Imperial Advisor, makes it cheaper to cast our other auras or other enchantments when we have other auras on the board. And a little bit of draw power while we're at it. Sovereign of Lost Alara has exalted whenever a creature attacks alone, aka Absolute Virtue will be doing that most of the time. You may search the library for an aura that enchanted to that creature, you know, get one of the ones that we want. Like, maybe we can get an Eldrazi Conscription to give it +10/+10, making it into an 18/18 that has protection from all of our opponents. You know, just some fun stuff like that. SRAM Senior Edificer, a little bit of draw power on that. Umbra Mystic, to give it Totem Armor with each of our enchantments, which the main way they'll get rid of it, like I said, is with a board wipe. So we need to have ways to protect it from that. So that's why we run that in there, in order to, you know, have that extra protection. Then we have all our glitters to get +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment we control. 20 artifacts, 19 enchantments, 39 in total, making it be able to get to a 47/47, but a lot easier to get it up to the 21 power that we need. Or just, 10 or 11, depending on what we are at, in order to deal that commander damage to our opponent. Auramancer's Guise, +2/+2 for each aura attached to it, and has Vigilance. Once again, that Vigilance in order to have it as a guard up. And also the +2/+2 for each aura, it could be quite good, especially because that already get to 10/10, which will make it almost a 2-shot. We just need one more aura on it. Battle Mastery, enchanted creatures double strike, getting it to 16 damage, getting it up to, like you said, another 2-shot in order to deal with our opponent through that commander damage. Celestial Mantle, +3/+3, putting it to 11, making it once again a 2-shot to get rid of our opponent. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total instead. Like I said, it's a big creature. We're going to be at a certain point where we're going to have lost a lot of life because people may get rid of you before you do anything. So double your life, get some back. Combat Research. Enchanted creature has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, so a little bit of draw power. And as long as enchanted creature is legendary, gets +1/+1 and ward 1. This is more so to attach to our other creatures, not necessarily Absolute Virtue. It is also that 1 cost, and it does make it into a 9/9, so it's just like a cheap one in order to get more off all like Glitters or Auramancer's Guise, more than anything else with this deck. Corrupted Conscience. Yep. Enchanted creature has, in fact, so, if we have a way to give it the +2/+2, let's say something like Auramancer's Guise, that puts it at 10, which makes it 10 unblockable infect. So, maybe we don't need to do 21 damage. Maybe we just need to do 10. Eldrazi Conscription, give it +10/+10, Annihilator 2. This is just a fun one. We have other ways to cheat out of our hand in this deck. Plenty of ways to get to that 8 mana already. So, may as well make it into a 2-shot. And give that Annihilator while we're at it. Dear Alarmer, +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, and it has First Strike as well. This way, even if they had a way to get rid of its ability, we still have a way for it to be able to deal that little bit of damage. And also, it'll put it at a 9/9. It'll still be a 3-shot from there, but we just need 2 more enchantments in order to get it a little bit higher. Gift of Immortality, enchanted creature dies, returns to the battlefield under its owner's control. Return this card to your hand. Yep. Wait. Return Gift of Immortality at the beginning, attached to the creature at the beginning of the next end step. Alright, so yeah, basically get the creature back, get a way to have it come back again and again. And like I said, board wipes are our main way to deal with it. We still don't have anything to deal with Farewell in this deck, but other ways to deal with it. Totem Armor off of Hyena Umbra, once again another cheap enchantment, giving it that +1/+1. Mantle of Ancients, this way, when our creature dies, once enchanted, all the enchantments tend to go to the graveyard. So let's have a way to get those back. Righteous Authority, +1/+1 for each card in its owner's hand, in its controller's hand. So, it'll normally be at least 2 or 3. At the beginning of end step of enchanted creature's controller, may draw an additional card. So, get us up to at least 2 cards, getting us up to 12 the next turn. That'll put us at the... Sorry, not 12 cards. Getting us up to 10 power the first turn, 12 power the second turn. We're swinging in, giving us that 2-shot. Sage's Reverie, a little bit of draw power, and +1/+1 for each aura you control. Okay, plenty of ways to get up to that 11/11. Sage's Reverie, Shielded by Fade, Indestructible. Like I said, board wipes, way to deal with them. When a creature enters the battlefield, you may attach it to it. So, even if we have this attached to, say, like Pearly Ears or Mesa Enchantress for the, draw power earlier in the game, we then reattach it to Absolute Virtue later in the game. We did that was shielded by Fade. We're up to Spirit Mantle. Enchanting creature +1/+1 and protection from creatures. Another one that's more so for your lower cost creatures in order to have them have ways to deal with things, because it already has protection from everything. We don't need to worry about protection from creatures. Staggering Insight. Enchanting creatures +1/+1 lifelink. Like I said, a little bit of ways to gain life goes a long way. And that little bit of draw power while we're at it, because we're going to be at low life total by the time we get this creature on the board. I bet. Steel of the Godhead. Enchanted creature has +1/+1 lifelink, +1/+1 and unblockable. It's already unblockable basically. So, give it that +2/+2, making it a 10/10, making only one away from that commander damage. Tempest Technique, +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, aka for as many spells as you cast this turn. With that Storm ability, we'll have probably at least 2 or 3. So, that'll be plenty of power onto our Absolute Virtue there. And Timely Ward, another way to give it instructable, get around his board wipes. Let's scroll on over to get to the final page. And then we have Counterspell for a little bit of protection. This way we can get rid of those board wipes. Now, Dovin's Veto in order to, once again, another Counterspell. Frantic Search for a little bit of draw power. And untapping those Druid lands never hurts. Negate, another Counterspell. Pet Exile for the removal. Source Plowshare for the removal. And then Thirst for Meaning. Draw 3 cards. Draw power. And also, once again, Absolute Virtue has protection from each of our opponents, so we could always Path to Exile or Swords of Plowshare if we ever got into a tight spot. We'll go over lands last like we always do. And then for our other cards, we have Austere Command. We could destroy all creatures with mana value 3 or less. This way it's not a board wipe that targets what we have. Destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, depends what we need at the time. Divine Reckoning, each player chooses a creature we control, aka Absolute Virtue, and destroy the rest. Good board wipe, getting rid of our opponent's stuff, keeping Absolute Virtue around. Search your library for an enchantment, reveal it, put it into your hand. We have plenty of enchantments that we specifically want, so we may as well just put them right into our hand. Same new Open the Armory, except for equipment. Oh, and auras, that's right. Single combat, each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, sacrifices the rest, once again, gets rid of everything except for Absolute Virtue. Dreams, search your library for up to 3 auras with different names, reveal them, put them into your hand. So, we'll get the 3 that we want. We'll get what would we want? I'm guessing probably Tempest Technique, probably get all that glitters, and I guess we could go for a Corrupted Conscience. It really depends on the situation. And Winds of Wrath, destroy everything except for your Absolute Virtue once again. So, as always, I always like to say, you don't need to spend $150 on lands if you don't want to. You could always necessarily spend, all basics lands if you really want to, and the deck will still work. But I'll just scroll through the lands in that case. But I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe so you can stay tuned for future videos, whether they be Magic the Gathering related or Final Fantasy related, depending on what we're doing at the time. I mean, it's going to be one or the other. It's going to be both at the same time, not necessarily one or the other. But yeah, if you do like how any of these lands look different from some others that you may have seen, feel free to pause the video and stop it there for that. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.